Welcome to the Village of Brown Deer and School District of Brown Deer joint session. I'd like to be able to call this meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. Verification of public notice. The meeting has been publicly noticed, and we will be able to start out with introductions. I'm Dr. Ty Beto, and I am the proud board president of School District of Brown Deer.
And this is President Wanda Montgomery, Village of Brown Deer.
Trustee Amos Owens, Village of Brown Deer.
Anita?
Sure. This is Anita Peterson, Brown Deer Board Treasurer.
Good afternoon, Dr. Kelsey Brown, Superintendent.
And Kevin Klemick, the School District's Director of Business Services.
Donna Ross, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Education.
I think that's it.
All right, do we have everyone? All right. So now, was there anyone that was actually wanted to be heard this evening before we go into our agenda items? All right, hearing and seeing none, I will go into the district's portion of the meeting. Wanted to be able to talk about the safety plan. So what we've been able to do is we, in conjunction with the Brown Deer Police Department and Chief Nimmer and the Sheriff's Department, as well as our staff, we were able to work together to be able to create a safety plan for the School District of Brown Deer. Within that safety plan, of course, there are things in relationship to how we handle critical situations, evacuations, and other emergency situations. So, so for us, that was something that we thought that was very, very, very important, especially in light of all of the different things that have been happening at different school districts across the country, and us wanting to be proactive rather than reactive in being able to have a system and a protocols in place in order to be able to work with our police department, our fire department, the sheriffs, as well as our staff, and being able to create and continue to have a safe environment for all of our students and staff and for our community. All right, and then with Dr. Kelsey Brown, would you like to add anything else to that in relationship to the safety plan? And it was approved by our board last Tuesday. So we are in a very good spot, and we have actually, we really feel really, really good about this plan that we were able to put together.
No, thank you. I don't have anything additionally to add. You summed it up well.
All right. And then the next item that I wanted to talk to as a relationship to the district is of course, last week we had our annual meeting for the budget, And with that being said, we were happy to announce that the tax cost to the community from the school district has actually gone down again. And this is for like the last few years. The tax roll has actually been less for the residents in relationship to the school district of Brown Deer. How we've been able to do that is because we've been able to continue to be, great financial stewards of the dollars that have come in. We've been able, we've had surpluses, so where we've been able to pay down debt at a much quicker rate than previously been able to do, as well as being able to create another fund in relationship to being able to have some excess dollars to be able to help us if we do have special projects that need to be completed and they need to be done without having to go back out to the community to ask for a referendum or being able to ask for additional dollars in order to be able to do that. So with that being said, I know Kevin is actually on the call, who is our business manager, as well as Ms. Peterson, who is our treasurer of the board as well too. So if there were any particular questions that you had in relationship to, or you would want to be able to share in relationship to the budget and for this new budget that was just adopted and just approved by the community, feel free to just go ahead and jump in and ask those questions or be able to share some other additional information as needed. So I don't know, Kevin or Dr. Kelsey Brown, is there anything that you would like to be able to add?
Yeah, I can update if you want just for a moment. I know you're on the road, so you may not have seen the email I sent out late last night for your review as a board. Because the annual, the way that school districts, go through this budget and tax levy process with annual meetings, which is different than how the village has to do it. We have to prepare that information so far in advance and have it published in the paper that it's really out of date by the time the taxpayers see it and they vote on it. So we always try to give them a little bit of a hint of where we're headed. But we still don't always know because our tax levy and budget is not set until our student count, which is completed on the third Friday in September. So just real basic couple of updates. We did end up this year we have 1,641 students in our classroom, which is a small drop from last year. Last year we had this huge increase as people were coming back from the pandemic. But the way the state calculates the student count, we actually gained a couple of students overall with our FTE, which gave us a little bit more money. The state did not provide any more per pupil dollars in the revenue limit that we have. So we are just able to increase that a little bit. The big story for us has been that the state has increased equalization aid considerably, and we have been a beneficiary of that. So this year, our equalization aid went up over $2 million from last year. And as a result of that, that doesn't provide us new money to spend, but it does allow us to lower the tax levy. So one of the discussions our board is going to have is we are looking at if we don't do any additional defeasance, or we've done defeasance or prepayments of debt over the last few years to help reduce our long-term costs. If we don't do anything, our levy will drop over $2 million to $10,084,000. Last year was at $12.2 million. Puts the mill rate for us at $8.24, which is a huge drop. What we will be recommending to the board is for them to consider recapturing a portion of that and doing some additional defeasance again to help us control those long-term debt costs and prepay some of the debts from our recent capital referendum that we've done. So, but because of a number of factors, I think from an equalization aid standpoint, I don't think Brown Deer is seeing the same level of valuation growth that other communities may be seeing. And as a result, when we have increases in students and the value doesn't increase quite as fast, we're rewarded for that in that sense in the equalization aid formula. So then we end up having more aid, which allows us to lower property taxes. So when I started on the board, we were probably 35% equalization aid, 65% property taxes. That's now completely flipped. And so the vast majority of our money now is coming from equalization aid. It's basically 2/3 to 1/3 at this point. So that's a positive story for us. We're going to continue to work on controlling costs and setting a stable levy and being able to use those excess funds to prepay debt if we can. So we'll be continuing to work on the budget this week. The final version of that will be presented to the board on Tuesday, where we will adopt our final budget and tax levy for 2022, 2023.
All right, thanks, Kevin, for continuing with that update and then actually giving us a little bit more background in relationship to how we've been able to lower the cost to the community in relationship to the school district within our budget and being able to do that. And that actually concludes what the line items for the district. So now let's go on to the village and to the President Montgomery.
Dr. Beater, I'd like to just ask one question about the safety plan. Were any parents involved in the discussion? I know you said NEMR, the sheriff, fire department, school district teachers. Were there any parents that were identified to participate in the discussion?
No. Well, for the simple fact that, what we have to be able to do, and part of this, President Montgomery, is this. If other individuals outside of personnel and staff know what's in our safety plan, then if there is something, then they kind of know our game plan on how we need to operate and being able to do that. So again, we didn't involve parents. We involved key personnel, of course, the different pieces of the municipality that has to do with safety and emergency services. And those are the individuals that we work with in order to be able to create the safety plan.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I just asked because I know a lot of people had a lot of questions. And even if they had an opportunity to offer suggestions without being in the room, because you never know. You know, somebody may have a dynamic suggestion that the people in the room don't. And not saying that the people in the room don't know all of it, but just a question. Because you know, I know I was getting questioned about stuff and I said, I'm not there. I can't tell you.
Right. And
So-
if they do have certain questions, have them feel free to be able to call the district or call myself. But again, we're only going to be able to share certain pieces or whatever and stuff because, you know, of course, we've got to we've got to be safe. And the less people that know exactly
yeah,
what we do in critical
I got it.
crisis situations, the better.
President Montgomery, I'll just add to that. We always do debrief after every incident that we do. And of course, last week, we had the joy of experiencing a real tornado
Oh,
drill
yeah.
in the middle of October, which is unusual. So we always, you know, any time that the safety plan is touched, either through a drill or some other real event that occurs, we always do debrief just to see what we did that worked really well and what we need to work on. So it is while the plan is there, it is a constantly evolving plan of exactly what we're going to do, because we adapt to new situations all the time, because you can't, you know, certainly be 100% detailed with every single possibility because you don't know everything that could possibly happen. So.
Right, okay. All right, so under the village's items, we do have the minutes from our August 17th, 2022 minutes that we need approval of. So is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the August 17th minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved by Dr. Beadle and second by Trustee Amos. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. So then the other items that we have, and for purposes of the minutes, village manager Tyler Burkhardt is not on the call today. He had a family engagement out of town that he had committed to. So, but he did share updates for the three of the items here. So we had talked about this some time ago about diversity, inclusion, equity, some type of committee that would encompass the school district, the community, the village board. And so we are working on creating that committee. And so where we are now, the village board will be considering this committee, Human Relations Committee, for adoption in our December meeting. We'll be recruiting members. If approved, we'll start recruiting in January. And then the committee would begin to meet in May of 2023, which is when all of our committees would meet. Start a new session after the elections in April. The committee will consist of a village board member and 6 community members as drafted currently. The village wants to know if the school district would like to have a non-voting ex officio member, which wouldn't impact the quorum and still allow the school district to have a liaison. The liaison could be a school board member, could be a staff member or a student. If the school wants to be a voting member, we would then only have 5 community members. We'd like to know, as soon as possible, so that we can finalize the draft ordinance so that we can get it back. So it would be available for our meeting in November. So I don't know. And what we're looking at is when we say community members, we're also talking about business people in the community. So it would not just be residents. It could be a business owner, it could be somebody that works in Brown Deer, but lives in Milwaukee, but is interested in this committee. And then the committee would draft what we're looking at. And we really are wanting to raise up diversity, inclusion, and equity, and how we do that across everything we do, and have Brown Deer as a welcoming community for everyone and not just a few. So I don't know if there's questions or if you have recommendations, Dr. Beadle or Dr. Kelsey Brown, as it relates to, or Ms. Peterson, as Director Peterson, as it relates to this committee, or if you'd rather, if you want a voting member or a non-voting member.
Well, again, President Montgomery, I think it's always good to have somebody potentially from the school district to be able to be a voting member on a committee such as this. So that would actually be my recommendation. Now, again, who that individual may be, I'll be able to take that back to the board. But my recommendation would be is to have a member of the board and or school personnel or administration be a voting member on this committee.
So you're recommending one or two?
Treasurer Peterson, what would your thought be in relationship to that? I would like to be able to at least have one, a minimum of one. Ms. Peterson, what do you think?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, just so that we would have someone that would be involved with that committee from the board itself. Who that individual will be is something that, again, Dr. Beadle, you would take back to the board as a whole. But I would think I would be in agreement that we would want at least one of our board members as a representative on the committee.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. So here you have it. I would say that we would at least like to have at least one voting member from the board as representation on the committee, President Montgomery.
All right. I will share that with Tyler. And then second, at our meeting in August, we talked about our marketing and communication initiatives. And we were looking to hire, I think then we were talking about, we were starting the interviews. So we have hired a marketing person, and she started 2 weeks ago. Her last name is Hoey, Hoey, and her first name starts with a K. She lives in Brown Deer. She currently meeting with the Brown Deer Magazine and school district communication staff member. So I don't know, Monica or Dr. Kelsey Brown, if you met with her.
No, I have not met with her.
Okay.
She and our communications coordinator met maybe today or sometime this week. They're meeting. I'm not sure what the exact date and time
Okay.
is. So I know they're connecting.
Okay.
Before you move on, President Montgomery, I didn't transition to B right away. I didn't know you were finished with A.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You can go
Do you
back.
mind backing up to A for a moment?
No, that's fine.
I'm sorry, not A, B, Human Relations Committee. I'm
Right,
sorry, B.
right. Mhm.
So a question that I have, I would be more than happy to represent the district. If you want another person from the school district's perspective, I don't think that's kind of what you put out there, but if that's what you want, I'd be more than happy, or serve as ad hoc, if that's an option.
Or I mean, you could serve, but I guess what we don't want is this become a elected top-heavy committee. Because then what happens is citizens feel like they can't really engage because you have so many elected officials there.
Correct.
And-
So given that I'm not elected, that would.
You're official. I guess what I would say is if you want to serve, I would say non-voting.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have to vote. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, if you can clear, or I guess a thought for me is around it being termed a Human Relations Committee as opposed to an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. I think sometimes that whole notion of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, we skirt it for the comfortability of some. And I'm just wondering why wasn't the committee called Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, of which sounds like that's the intent, right? Is to figure out how we make our community members or everyone feel like they're more a part of what we're trying to build together as a community in the school district of Brown Deer. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yeah, but
Okay,
I think what we're looking at, and this has not, all the meat ain't been put on the bone. I
okay,
think that's where you bring the committee in and really, because we don't want to be the ones to say this is what it's gonna be, and then people come in like, oh, it's already done. But in terms of human relations, we were trying to make it more global and not just specific. That will be a part of it, but there may be other things that come, and we don't want to end up going and create another committee to do something else if it could fall under this.
okay, okay. I was just curious about that.
Yeah,
Thank you for clarifying.
yeah, and I'll give you another example as it relates to even Milwaukee County. They started out with the Office of African American Affairs. Well, that's wonderful. But when you want to be inclusive of everybody, it makes it challenging to have your office called the Office of African American Affairs. So they changed the office recently to Office of Equity.
Okay,
So that is, but I think we have an opportunity. Is the name baked in stone? Probably not.
okay,
And so if that becomes a discussion, we change stuff all the time. But I think the charge of the committee will need to be defined to say this is what the responsibility of this committee will be.
okay. Thank you.
So I will share with Tyler, we're looking at one official and one ex-official. So the superintendent would serve in a non-voting capacity. And then the school district will determine if it's going to be a staff person that represents or a school board member. And that person would be a voting member. Okay, so getting back to the marketing and communication initiative, we're gonna begin crafting a community survey next month. And those survey question ideals, we'll be getting questions from the school district and community partners will be collected in January. The village is also coordinating a town hall forum on economic development for January, as well as working on marketing and promotion materials for economic development opportunities and future community events. What we are really hoping for with this position is to really be more proactive about who Brown Deer is and what we have to offer, and really being aggressive about inviting people to come here, not only to live, but to work and to have their businesses. And that has not been a part of what we've done in the past. I think we've kind of been, for lack of a better word, lazy and not going out and inviting people here. And that is a part of what Tyler has been doing, as well as a part of the role of this position is going to be working with our development director to really invite people to the village. Developers are looking for places all the time to do things. We may not have a lot of land, but we got some buildings that could be torn down and retrofitted or something. So as we get more and more people to move into the village, I think that opens up opportunity for people to move their businesses here. So that will be a lot of what her role is. And then being able to create marketing materials, writing articles that are positive, that when the Journal Sentinel or somebody else says they're looking to write a story, or we just send them stuff periodically about what's going on in Brown Deer. So when you hear the name of Brown Deer, it comes up positive and not some of the negative things that may happen that we have no control over. When negative stuff happens, you don't have to call the newspaper or the TV station. They will be there, Johnny on the spot, and they will get it covered. So we want to try and be proactive. So I don't know if there are any questions about our marketing and communication initiative.
President Montgomery, quick thing. Will that marketing person be able to also work in conjunction with for the District of Brown Deer with our communications person as well too, for potentially to be able to look at certain stories or put certain things together in order to be able to put out to different media outlets, whether that be the Journal or something radio or whatever? Will we be able to do that? Will they be able to work collaboratively to be able to do some things?
I think they already are. They're meeting this week on the magazine. So I think you build those relations and yeah, I don't see why that would be an issue.
All right, thank
So
you very
I-
much, President Montgomery. I appreciate that answer.
Yeah, I think, they build that relationship because one of them may know about a story that the other one doesn't. And then how do they, and of course we can share it across the platforms that we have. So here's the deal. We never had a communication person before. How about that? So I think having somebody that can begin to do some of this stuff is going to be key. You all have had somebody. We haven't. So, yeah. Maximize our resources. Any other questions? If not, item number D is village committee representation. The library board person, I think is Dolores, I think her name is,
Yes, Dolores
been-
Brown.
has been attending the meetings. However, we need a new representative on the Park and Recreation Committee due to lack of attendance. I don't know.
We've already addressed that. I spoke with Ms. Smith and let her know, and we do have a new individual that will be joining that Parks and Rec committee, and that is Dorothea Macon.
Okay, so can you or Dr. Kelsey Brown send us her information?
Not a problem.
So
Kelsey Brown, if you could go ahead and send that, or otherwise I could send it.
yeah, so we can get it to Tyler so that they can get all the information when the meetings are, and we can switch that up. And then we still don't have that student representative for the special events committee.
That'll be a Dr. Kelsey Brown.
Yes, I have
Yeah,
to
and that
follow up
was
with
the principal.
Okay. I thought they had met, but we have parent-teacher conferences tonight, so I'll follow up with her.
Yeah. That, I believe, yeah, that concludes my agenda items.
Okay, so our next agenda item is ensuring that we have our next meeting. Our next joint meeting will be in December, and that will be hosted by the village.
And I do have a question about that meeting. Is that when school is out? I don't know
Our
what your
calendar-
schedule.
Let me check our calendar. Give me 1 second.
It's on 21st, I think.
We are out on.
No, I mean, when the school, because the school
is out.
closes for Christmas break,
We're the 21st, December 21st.
is when you close.
Yes.
So that may be a challenge.
No,
If
December
that's-
21st, we should still be in session, shouldn't we, Monica?
We can still, I mean, we can still meet though.
That doesn't,
All
that
right,
doesn't what we do. So yeah, we can have
yeah,
that meeting.
I'm fine. I just didn't know when your calendar ends, that people might be going away for Christmas or what have you.
It's the
But as
first
long
day
as
of
it's-
break. It's the first day of break for the teachers, administrators, and so on.
All right, as long,
With meeting. We're
yeah,
virtual.
as
we
long
can
as it's
meet from
good with
anywhere,
you
right?
all.
Right.
Well,
So December
depends on where you
21st.
are.
Yep, so December 21st, we continue to have that meeting, and that will be a meeting that will be hosted by the village.
Yep.
All right.
And President Montgomery, I put the Ms. Macon's information in the chat. I chatted, I mean,
Let me see.
I sent you a
Um,
private.
do you have her email?
Yes. Her email is dmacon@browndeerschools.com. Let me double check it real
Okay.
quick.
It is, it's D Macon. That
Yeah,
is it.
D
Macon
Macon.
at Brown Deer
Just wanted to
Schools.
make sure. dmacon@browndeerschools.com.
All right.
All right.
All right, well,
Um,
if there isn't anything else, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion, but just 1 minute. Let me, before y'all I want to get that phone number. I move that we adjourn the meeting at 5:32.
All right.
I
motion-
will second that, Dr. Beto.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor will raise hand and or aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously for adjournment at 5:32 p.m. Everyone continue to have a wonderful remainder of your evening and even better rest of your week.
You too.
All right, good night, everyone.
All right, everyone.
Good
Have a
night.
good
Good night.
You too.